Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to week 4 of the weekly roundup of everything that's happening in the 9 leagues around the world in the build-up to the Manchester Major. And this is crunch week for a lot of leagues. We have BR, Japan, Korea, NAL all finalising who's going to be making the playoffs. But today we are going to start off with EUL, which has been one of the most topsy-turvy, unpredictable leagues going. And we'll smash in straight away into what happened over in the Europe League. So Playday 7 was upon us. After this, only Playday 8 and 9 remained. And things were shaping up very, very nicely. It started off the day with a fantastic win for my boys of ITB up against Wild. ITB looking ever so impressive and maybe sneaking into one of those spots at the Manchester Major, convincingly demolishing Wild. I've got a little reaction of ITB winning it with one of my watch parties, so enjoy. I mean, they still have the numbers advantage here, so we're going to need someone to go big with a multi-kill. Charlie could go massive here. He did use 6 pellets. Oh, the TK.
That's not ideal. Teb finds one, but then closes down Nello. 5 seconds left to go.
One going down. Nice. Yes! It's all ITB. Mop them up, baby. Our next game of the day saw Fnatic going up against Secret. Secret obviously winning their first games of the stage, or first 3 games in a row. And a lot of people sort of underdog to maybe make Manchester. But Fnatic, inspired by Leon Gids going absolutely nuclear, hopped off going 15-3 in that game. And here's a little clip of Leon just swinging everything left, right and centre at 1,000,000 miles per hour, winding back the years and showing that he's the old man still got it, baby. Holy shit, he's a gunner.
So really it's much more of a classic setup, if you would say, for Catwalk.
Entry headshot, that's huge for my points.
Unsurprisingly, normally one of the go-to roamers here, but Miracle found in response, and I tell you what.
Oh my god, Leon Gids, kill number 11.
But Leon is off and flying once again, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. The push coming in from the opposite side, as I said.
Oh my god, Leon! Leon!
And more specifically to Leon, it's all the same. He can't believe it.
He's unreal! I mean, if you've watched much of EUL, you would have seen Leon doing his winner's interview with his newborn son, Leon Kids, a few weeks ago. But there was this little meme posted by the R6 and Esports EU. Leon Diff, Leon Dilf. Simple as that. Leon going nuclear, as we'll run through what happened in some of the other games. Elsewhere, we saw Virtus.pro being on the wrong side of another 7-5 up against BDS, which pretty much good as meant VP were not going to qualify through to the playoffs. They're going to have to drop down into the open qualifiers. Elsewhere, Wolves just went nuclear. They systematically tore apart G2 with a 7-1 victory, damning those G2 fans' hopes as they had their rest day on Playday 9, which means they only had 1 game left and they were going to have to win. And we'll have a look at what happened in Playday 8 now. So Playday 8 was upon us and Fnatic started off in impressive form, winning in overtime against Virtus.pro, which good as secures them a spot in the playoffs as long as they don't lose 7-0 to BDS. So who knows, anything could happen in that final play day on Monday. Elsewhere, Team Secret got back to winning ways in a very entertaining game up against ITB, which meant that regardless of the results on next week, Monday, you have Team Secret and ITB guaranteed in the top 6 and making the playoffs for a chance at the Manchester Major. Elsewhere, Wolves went up against Ents in an 8-7 victory for Wolves. And there were two of the most insane players I've seen in a long, long time in these games. I'll show you the first one now, which was words cannot describe this. This is Bibu going 1 versus 5 post plant. He is the attacker. All I have to say is belly goal. And we'll let the reaction from me and Himmy Grace play through and that clip as well. It's quite simply insane. Keeper barriers are not your friend always if you're a defender. Oh no, what the fuck? That shot!
Yes! That is what I'm talking about.
No, wait. I don't think they can do it. Oh my god, no way. They win it. They're going to win it. They're going to win it. Bibu! Bibu wins it. Look at him just smiling. Oh my god!
Are you kidding me? What was that?
He gets an ace.
The next insane clip from that game is P4 and Mowgli going 2 versus 4 with an absolute ratata play coming out from P4, who has really been showing up as of late for Wolves, which is no surprise as to why we probably see them second in the table. And this was to bring it back to overtime, and they went on to eventually win the game, as you can see there, 8-7 against Ents. But look at this, just big brain plays from P4. It's incredible. CC might get him.
For his life. There's one. There's an
Huge from P4. Oh my god.
Suddenly it's winnable. Suddenly it's doable.
Oh my god.
Suddenly Ents have had the rug
Oh
pulled
my
from
god.
underneath
And he's got the
them.
shotgun. He wins this
P4's
gunfight as well.
waiting for the swing
It's
round. They
Jova.
don't have
It's
the kit.
Jova.
They've got to recollect it, and there's an angry Frenchman with a shotgun holding on to the room itself. They're not sure where the fight
Oh, it's
is
Mowgli.
to take, but
Holy
Mowgli's
shit. What a comeback.
another round.
What? Our final game of the day saw G2 getting back to winning ways, just ever so impressively up against Wild. Poor old Wild, they are pretty much condemned. Well, they already are condemned to going into those open qualifier playoffs. They do play Virtus Pro next Monday, which is going to be a battle to see who finishes bottom of the EUL. But we'll take a quick look at our table and tell you what needs to happen for the teams to make it to playoffs who haven't already. So as you can see here, we have BDS, Wolves, Secret and ITB locked into making playoffs. Virtus Pro and Wild can not make it into playoffs, so it's between Fnatic, G2 and Ents. G2 do not play another game. They're currently in 6th. Ents will be playing up against ITB next Monday. So basically all Ents, as you can see there, on 10 points, G2 on 11 points. With the round difference being the same, Ents just need to win against ITB, whether that be regulation or overtime, and they will overtake G2 and get that spot in the playoffs. Say Ents win, it still can mean that Fnatic can drop below G2. But that would mean that Fnatic need to get that round differential swing, because currently they have 7 more rounds on top of G2. So Fnatic, to secure their spot in the playoffs, just have to get 1 round off of BDS. So if you're a G2 fan, you're going to want to hope that Ents lose, basically, is your best hope. If Ents win, you're going to have to bat BDS to beat Fnatic 7-0, or else our bottom 3 will be made up of G2, Virtus Pro and Wild. And that is everything that happened in EUL, and we'll now switch over to Asia and see what's happened over there. So Playday 3 started over in Asia, and there were some banger games in there actually. I think the game that everyone was most looking forward to see how this new look Elevate were going to complete up against one of the tougher opponents in the league was Elevate against Fury. And well, as a former member of Elevate, I have to say it couldn't have gone any worse, as we'll take a look at the results from that Playday now. As you can see here, Galada continuing to be impressive, the ex-Elevate roster, beating Daystar 7-1. Then Bleed went on to beat Direwolves 7-4, continuing their flawless 100% win in regulation streak. And well, Fury absolutely dismantled Elevate, I'm afraid to break it to you. They won 7-0 up against Elevate on Oregon, with Knock Knock beating Hasid Warriors, as Hasid Warriors picked up their first points of the league as well. Playday 4 saw some more exciting fixtures coming to us. Fury up against Direwolves was probably one of the highlight games, with some of the other games looking a little bit one-sided. But we'll look at how these results came in, and then look at the standings of where everyone is placed currently in the Asia League. At the time of filming this, they are currently playing now, so if you see my eyes darting over to the left, it's because I'm watching the Galada game on my other monitor. But we'll have a look at what results came in for Playday 4. Playday 4 finished fantastically for Fury. Fury, a tough week for them going up against Direwolves and Elevate, coming out with 6 points out of a possible 6. Elevate got back to winning ways, not quite revenging the 7-0 that they suffered up against Fury, but winning 7-1 up against Daystar. Bleed just continued to look ever so impressive, with not really being able to compete too much. Similar was the story of Hasid Warriors up against Galada as well. So a good week for Galada, Fury and Bleed. a little bit shaky for Elevate, though. I think those are going to be sort of your top 4 teams battling it out in those playoffs, but we'll take a look at the table now and see who's sitting pretty and who it's looking pretty dire for. Excuse the pun. So as you can see here, we have Bleed with 12 points out of a possible 12 points. Elsewhere, Elevate are in second place on 9 points, only losing that one game to Fury. Then you've got Galada and Fury battling it out on 8 and 7. Direwolves on 6 points as well, but I think you're probably looking at your top 4 going to shape up as Bleed, Elevate, Galada and Fury, as we are just over halfway through these playdays. At the time of me filming this, there will only actually be 2 playdays left, so very exciting. But yes, we're going to be finding out probably around next week of which teams will be competing in those playoffs to try and get that one spot available from APAC. So now we can take a quick look at what's happening over in the MENA region. If anyone can find me sort of tweets about this, please share them with me. I can't find them anywhere, so I'm just taking over the Liquipedia screen grabs. But Falcons, they continue in winning form, similarly to GK and Onyx. These 3 teams still looking really, really impressive. And let's not forget, similar to the Asia region we just looked at, only one of these teams will be making it to the major. However, with the MENA region, it's a little bit different. There are no playoffs. It is quite simply whoever comes top of the league at the end of the playdays will be making it over to the Manchester Major. So Onyx, GK and Falcons are all still looking really good, but there was a big game coming in the next playday with GK going up against Falcons, and we'll take a quick butchers about how that game went. So this was the big one, ladies and gents. GK coming out 7-3 victors up against Falcons. Elsewhere, Onyx continue to look ruddy impressive, undefeated so far this season, so it's looking like it could come down to a straight showdown in that match between GK and Onyx. Let's not forget that obviously round differential comes in, so it is important to crush out your opponents. And as you can see there, Onyx only winning in overtime, which means the table now looks like this over in MENA. So as you can see here, with GK winning previously in overtime once and Onyx winning in overtime before, these teams are very, very tightly contested. Let's not forget that you only play 7 games, so we're over halfway through the season so far, with GK on 11 points, Onyx on 11 points, and GK had that slight advantage of a 3-round better 3 better round difference than Onyx. So my brain just went the 2 brain cells fighting against each other. But I do just want to highlight one of the players from GK in that game up against Falcons. Look at this man Key's stats. So as you can see up here, Key going absolutely ginormous in that game up against Falcons. A lot of what people would say is the crunch game between the 2 top teams in the MENA region, with the Key dropping 15 and 7. A ruddy impressive performance, as we're now going to zoom over to the other side of the world and see what's happening in LATAM South and LATAM North. As mentioned, we now find ourselves over on the other side of the world in the LATAM region. Don't forget that the LATAM region is split up between the North and the South. In each of their groups, they play everyone twice, and then it will go into a playoffs. We'll have a quick look at what happened over in LATAM South, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but Vasco have finally lost. Vasco losing 8-7 to the Knights. Shock result coming in there because Vasco, I mean, I've ranted on about them just winning everything and maybe being the most impressive team in any region, and this is the result that came in on Playday 6. And don't scratch your eyes, ladies and gents, as we take a look at what happened in Playday 7 over in LATAM South as well. It happened again with Alpha Averus beating Vasco 8-6. Vasco losing their first 2 games of the season and losing them in overtime as well. So this LATAM South League could be beginning to start to come alive, as they have 3 playdays left. 1 later today at the date of this filming, and then 2 next week as well. But we'll have a quick look at that table of what's the summary of LATAM South. So as you can see here, the Knights have caught up to Vasco. The Knights are storming on up to even up on points with Vasco. Both these teams are confirmed through to the playoffs, with only, what is it? My brain, not working very well, but they are confirmed through to the playoffs, and they'll be making it through up against the LATAM South teams, and then if they make it further, up against the LATAM North teams. Now let's take a quick look at what is one of the most unpredictable leagues of LATAM North. So our results coming in here. I'm obviously a big Revan fan. I think Revan have sparked a little bit of controversy with all these players being imports from other regions, but Revan have an unfortunate loss to 6 Karma 7-4. 6 Karma getting revenge. Obviously, Revan beat them in the first game of the season, 7-0 over on Cafe. But we'll now look at what happened in Playday 7 as well. Unfortunately for Revan, the woes continued, losing to NXT 7-3. 6 Karma, a fantastic game week for them, alongside Team Cruelty, who also won twice. But we'll take a quick look at the table now to see how things have really heated up inside of LATAM North. So as you can see here, it's all pretty spicy, with Team Cruelty on 15 points, NXT player on 15 points, 6 Karma topping the league on 17, and Revan falling back a little bit on 10 points as well there. Don't forget that the top 4 teams will progress through to the playoffs, so there's still time for these teams to turn it around. As they get through to the later stages of those playoffs, they will be going up against the teams from the LATAM South region. But now we're going to move up a little bit more north and take a look at what's happening over in NAL, which was one hell of a week for NAL. So now we head into the NAL League, the North American League. And it couldn't be anything more American than having a super 3-day schedule with all the games being played, finding out who would make it into the playoffs. Our first play day has some absolute corkers in there. And we'll take a look at the results now, ladies and gents. We'll do them all in one, as opposed to one by one by one by one by one by one. Because I've been filming this and I've just taken like a half-hour break from filming it because I have so many beans in me that I can't focus, and I was just listening to really hardcore drum and bass. But anyway, we will take a look at the results from Playday number 7 now. So Playday number 7, as you can see here, M80 managed to scrape their way through with a 7-5 victory up against Los. And there was a fantastic little clip from that game where Noodle almost went nuclear in a clutch, then lost out to probably one of the most inconsistent guns in the game. And we'll have a look at Noodle losing this clutch. I watched it live and I was like, oh my god, what is happening? We'll let you see how you react to it now.
Anti-flank, it's to stop them from getting closer into the bomb site. Therius has been dropped. Burst is the last one standing. Noodle in a 1v1 against the Thorn. He's running out of time though. The bees will assist him. Shotgun out, flashes as well. He has to swing this. Oh no, he doesn't get it done. The shotgun is just so weak.
Elsewhere, top of the table, Oxygen get absolutely slammed down by Dark Zero. And it was the return of our Lord and Savior, Mr. Boblob, Mr. Jason Bolo popping off. Let's not forget, last game week, he went 0-8. This time round, the man went 12-0 as Dark Zero dismantled Oxygen. There is our Lord and Savior, Mr. Boblob, 12-0, flawless, incredible performance. Elsewhere, Luminosity got a fantastic win up against Wildcard, and Beast Coast continue to storm on upwards in the league, smashing out SSG, who get handed another loss as they beat them 7-5. Now going into the second day of the Super Play Days, we'll have a look at what results went down there. Sonics' woes continue once more, as they found themselves pretty much rock bottom of the league without a chance of qualifying through to the playoffs, so they will be dropping down into the open qualifiers. Beast Coast, they bloody do it again. I don't know what's happened with this Beast Coast side. Obviously, it's hard not to get around them and get amongst them and support them, because they were players that were discarded from lots of other teams, and they banded together and they finally got it clicking, smashing M80 7-1. Luminosity continue with an impressive form up against the unimpressive loss, and SSG get back to winning ways by smashing out Oxygen. Was the Oxygen train derailing, ladies and gents, as we look at our final play day of NAL in the group stages? So our final play day, and boy, it was a corker. Dark Zero had to win and beat Wildcard to secure their spot in the playoffs, and they did that very, very impressively, winning 7-1 up against Wildcard. And I've got a little clip here of them getting that 6-0 split.
Exterior of it, and they find the kills again. DC are hitting their shots.
Oh my, Bolo for 2. Tanzan and Rampy removed, Bolo punished. On Aqua Stairs, Spiker looks the wrong way. Canadian a second kill. This offsite play from Canadian has been under scrutiny for much of this stage, but it's working wonders in this game. Bosco gets the down on NJR. No confirmed kill. There he goes. Might as well get your pick. And will now attempt the defuse plant with Canadian rushing in. Pambazoo not far off. Bosco not giving them the honor of getting the kill.
Our next game was an absolute rip-roarer, with M80 going up against Oxygen. Oxygen struggling against these potentially stronger teams in the past 2 play days, and they lose again to M80, with Spoit going absolutely nuclear in this game. As I'll play you a clip from that game where Spoit just running down into the basement in Clubhouse, just da-da, 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 finding everyone that land, just leaving bodies in his wake with that AK-12.
Of a viewing angle as humanly possible. Citizen looked like he was in trouble. Kino dies to Dream, mowed down, but there's Spoit breaching in, taking no prisoners.
Not again.
How does he get it done? What does Spoit have to do to find all these openings? Goodness gracious.
Our last 2 fixtures of the day saw Beast Coast securing top spot in the league flawlessly against Loss. And I have to say, Loss looked like one of the worst teams I've ever seen competing at a tier 1 level in one of the big regions, unfortunately for them. A lot of work for them to do to maybe try and, even if they can just piece it together in open playoffs, get through to the LCQ. But it's going to be a long, tough, I would say almost impossible battle to see them at Manchester. And Sonics, they do end in winning fashion, but once again, they will be falling out and not making it through to playoffs going into the open qualifiers. But we'll take a quick look at how the NAL table finished up and look at how these playoffs are lining up now as well. So if you do follow R6 Esports on Twitter, you may have seen Bodega complaining about M80 winning the most games and finishing in 3rd spot. But unfortunately for you, Bodega, these rules have been in effect for a while now, and it is a shame that you throw your toys out the pram when it affects you, but it doesn't really affect anyone else. So our top 2 seeds will be Beast Coast and Oxygen, who get a bye, and then the 4 teams battling it out in that first stage of the playoffs will be M80, Dark Zero, Luminosity, and Space Station. I think our big shot from this lead was the underperformance from Sonics, I have to be honest, but we'll look at who will be playing who in these playoffs now. So in the playoffs, it is a hell of a game there. You've got M80 versus Space Station. Banging best of 3 there, with the winner going up against Oxygen for that spot at the Manchester Major. Elsewhere, you've got Dark Zero up against Luminosity. Dark Zero, they finally have seemed to get things motoring, but they'll be going up against the ever-impressive Beast Coast, who came alive towards the end of that stage. But I do just want to go back quickly and pull up the stats from Spoit in that M80 game against Oxygen that secured them that win. And I mean, we've got it here, Spoit going 19-11 up against Oxygen. I've been a huge fan of Spoit, obviously saw him dominate in that Berlin Major, which Rogue won. And it's nice to see him being finally given back that role and that freedom just to go in and kill everything in his wake. And sort of adding to that, I'm going to bring up a quick couple of stats from the full season in the league to show you how really impressive this change of role has been for Spoit. Now he's sort of been freed up. So as you can see here, Spoit, the highest rating and the highest plus on KD in the league. It's fantastic to see Willie back to his best and banging out everyone that he comes up against. Can't wait for the NAL playoffs. I'll be watch partying them as well, so make sure to tune in to tomjsherlock on Twitch if you want to come and join us. But now we're going to shoot on over to see what happened over in the Japan League, because they had their playoffs locked in as well. Now we move over to the Japan region, who had their final play day as well, with Kintrafi securing a 7-4 win, Vite securing a 7-5 win up against Crest, Father's Back Baby winning 7-5, and Scars winning 7-3 up against CAG. And that meant that all our games had now been played. So we can take a quick look at the table and see who has qualified through to the Japan League. Why did I say that so weird? The Japan League playoffs. So as you can see here, we have our final table with Scars coming out on top, tied on points with Vite, Kintrafi, CAG, Exist, and Father's Back. Father's Back sneak their way in there on the final play day into the playoffs. And this is how they'll be shaping it up to see who will be making it through to the Manchester Major, ladies and gents. So our first game of the day will be CAG up against Exist. The winners of that will be going up against Scars in match 3. Match 2 will be Kintrophy up against Father's Back. The winner of that will be going up against Vite. And in that grand final, the winner of the grand final will be making it through to the Manchester Major. So only 1 out of these 6 teams will be making it to the Manchester Major, with the other 5 dropping down into the LCQ to secure that second spot coming in from Japan over to Manchester. So now we head on over to South Korea, who similarly to a lot of these other regions have locked in who will be competing in the playoffs and potentially making their way to Manchester in May. We had BSG beating Blossom 8-7. This was a hell of a play day, by the way. This one went on for ages. Then we had PSG Talon losing once more to Fear X 8-6. BNA beating MIR Gaming 8-7. And then D plus Kia lose their flawless run in the league, getting beaten by Web L 7-3. And how did that shape up the league table? Well, let's take a little gander in deux, trois. So I don't actually have the table saved, but we'll take a look at the playoffs instead. You can see D plus Kia secured first spot in the Korean League, with Web L securing second seed, which is why they progress further into this playoff bracket over here. Then you'll have Blossom up against PSG Talon. The winner of that will be playing D plus Kia for a chance to go to the grand final and getting that Manchester Major spot. Elsewhere, Fear X versus BSG. The winner goes up against Web L. And then obviously you have the grand final to see who will be making it through to the Manchester Major, with all the other 5 teams dropping down similarly to the Japan League to find out who will win the LCQ and get that second spot and lock in 0161 Manny on the map, baby. And we zoom on over to Brazil, who also have raced through their play days, and we'll see how that league and their playoffs are shaping up. So now we find ourselves in Brazil for the penultimate 2 play days of the season. We had FaZe Clan winning impressively 8-6 up against MIBR, securing themselves into the playoffs. Furia managing to beat E1. They continue their revival in the league, where it started off a little bit shaky. Vivo Cade Stars overcame W7M in a back and forth absolute brawl of a game, winning 8-7. Ninjas in Pajamas with a little bit of an upset win there, finally managing to get a win together to beat Black Dragons, who looked so impressive throughout this group stage, with Team Liquid trying to keep the dream alive by managing to beat Fluxo. And I just want to bring up Hate's stats in that game up against W7M, because the man is a certified gunner, ladies and gents. As you can see here, Hates with the 20 bomb, going 20-9 with that ESP of 147. An insane performance from Hates. And at the end of this little BR segment, we'll take a look at some of the players' stats, because there's a few players who I would like to highlight. So we'll move into our final play day and see who secured the playoffs over in BR. So our final play day saw Furia indeed securing their spot in the playoffs after that shaky start with a win up against W7M. Black Dragons and Cade Stars have both already qualified, so it was a game for seedings. MIBR managing to beat Fluxo. W7M are not unsurprisingly beating M1. I'm thinking of a bloody mouse. Beating E1 7-4. And then Team Liquid, unfortunately, couldn't keep the dream alive and make it through to the playoffs, as FaZe Clan continued their flawless run in the group stages. But there's a couple of players who I would like to look at of their performances from that final play day, because some boys bloody popped off. First player who popped off was Loira. Look at that performance, 17-4, +1 on the entry, and also maybe the highest ESP I have ever seen, 190. He is almost performing at the quality of 2 players. That is insane from Loira for Black Dragons. We also had Souls with an equally impressive performance, going 17-5 up against Team Liquid and crushing that dream for Parlo and Ness to make it through to the playoffs. But they will still have the open qualifiers and the LCQ, so you might still see Team Liquid inside of Manchester. But we'll look at these playoffs now and the final table, as we can look into what players have, or what players and teams have secured their spots in the playoffs. So as mentioned, FAZE do indeed go flawless, and I've just got a little clip of them winning, which secured them their flawless spot at the top of the table, unbeaten.
Souls vem, movimentando. Vita King, dardo asfixiante na mão, pra tentar tirar o Palu da posição. Deu a bala, o Palu impressionante! Consegue garantir essa troca, vem a pressão, a FaZe Clan vai peitando. Olha o trabalho, Randy na porrada, ele garante 2 eliminações, vem pra cima, pra mais uma. Olha o Randy, é 3v1.
Que isso, Randy?
Fecha o jogo! Um round incrível dessa FaZe, que também é incrível. Invicta, fecha com 9 vitórias. Esse primeiro stage é a FaZe Clan partindo para os playoffs com o seu recorde intacto.
So FaZe, could they be the team to beat at Manchester? My instinct says probably yes, after we've seen such a dominant year of Brazilian Siege. Will this year be the same story? There's only one way to find out, and that's to find out at the Manchester Major. But the other teams that will be rivaling with FaZe to get those 2 secured spots will be W7M, obviously reformed with most of the lost team, and Volps, who has had a really, really good season. And then Black Dragons, Furia, Vivo Cade Stars, and E1. With MIBR, Team Liquid, Ninjas in Pyjamas, and Fluxo unfortunately not making it through to the playoffs. But how will these playoffs be matching up? We'll show you now. So I don't know why I'm ducking down. As you can see here, Black Dragons will be going up against E1. The winners will play W7M. The winner of that game, W7M versus Black Dragons or E1, will qualify for Manchester. An absolute banger of a top bracket here with Furia up against Cade Stars. The winner goes up against FaZe as well. So this is going to be a little bit wild, and I can't wait for this to happen. BR Siege, is it going to be dominant again, or will it not? Only time will tell as we go over to our final league of the roundup, which will be OCE. So our results for the 5th playday in OCE are in. We had Circular Spears unable to continue their comeback to greatness, losing to Panic 7-5. 6Ts managed to get the job done up against Kelton Knights. Kelton's Knights woes continue for this season. Man LFO, hashtag Man in Manchester, going big with a 7-5 victory up against Antic. And in our top of the table clash, Odium managed to take Bliss to overtime, but Bliss still get the job done. Within that Panic Circular Spears game, there was maybe one of the most mechanically gifted 4Ks I have ever seen in Rainbow Six Siege from the gunner that is Karma. Honestly, some of the clips this man is hitting so far in this stage, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next import from Australia for a European side, as we saw similarly with Jigsaw, and I will let that clip play now before we go into the next playday.
Nades are kind of important on this map, I reckon. I mean, so are flashbangs, but like, sinking power positions, that's a thing, that's important. What are you doing, Kenna? Who's beating Karma? Who is beating Karma? Why have you leave them beat Karma?
Ladies and gentlemen, Karma is back! He's just found 4, he's been traded, but there is no way in this world that Goofed wins this. A 1v5. But he's found his first. Next step is a 20 bomb. And after that, it's to win the round and push to overtime. Here comes the diffuser. Here comes the nail in the coffin. What in God's name was that? Karma Farmer. And with that, Panic have confirmed 3 points.
Our next playday saw Bliss continuing their flawless streak inside of OCE with a convincing 7-3 up against 6 times. Kelton Knights, they upset the odds. They managed to get a win up against Panic, who performed oh so impressively over on Skyscraper the day before. Man LFO with the 8-6 victory in overtime up against Circular Spears. And Odium with a bit of a shock, disappointing result up against Antic. I do just want to show you Chef Jeff, the creator of hashtag Man in Manchester, going 1 versus 4 in that game up against Circular Spears.
And they play this to their advantage. Hunter, he goes down as well. Now it's all up to Chef Jeff to cook up whatever he can from upstairs on the hatch. But you can see Circular Spheres know exactly where he is, and they're just baiting him. 2 players, 3 players coming up the main stairs as Japer baits him. In comes the onslaught. 1 down, 2, a third one. Who's getting on the diffuser? Chef Jeff! What is this? Who let him cook? He's up in kitchen right now, and there's absolutely nothing Japer can do about it. Unlucky, I guess. The round is over. Chef Jeff have made Circular Spheres look like fools.
Mate, he actually made Circular Spheres run circles. What I was saying, the train up the main stairs into the triple kill, that is ridiculous, man. What are they doing?
Bro.
What have they done?
So this is how our table is shaping up with only one play day left in the league. Bliss on top, Man Esports, ODM securing themselves playoffs, and it will be a little bit of a tight battle to see which other teams secure the playoffs on that final play day. And yeah, it's all heating up. I mean, a lot of people will expect Bliss to be that one team that makes the Manchester Major from Oceanic region. But who knows, anything can happen in Siege, because as we know, the game is not played on paper. I'd like to say thank you if you managed to get this far in the video. I do have the timestamps, as I know not every region people hugely care about, whereas I might just be an absolute weirdo, which I think is a good thing, by the way, and I just love about all of R6 Esports. And if you've stuck out to the end, we'll finish the video with a little clip in one of the EUL playdays in which we saw a poor old Monty getting trapped inside of dirt against Team Secret. Have a lovely rest of your mornings, days, and afternoons. As I said, I'm going to be watch partying pretty much all these games on my Twitch channel, which is just tomjsherlock. It's tomjsherlock on everything. So get around it, get amongst it. Manny is coming soon. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be attending Manchester, because I will be, and I'll probably see you there. But it's goodbye from me, and have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. Bye. Yeah, that makes sense.
From a Monty pistol that's been wielded in ADS to charge him through dirt. It tells you a whole story about how fearful you have to be as Shield player.
Yeah, good evening, Codex. How are you, you legend? I didn't know you could get a Christmas tree on it. Back up and reverse it, Savage. Back up and reverse it. Oh, they trapped him in! That is so good!
Yeah, really.